toxic people. Do you have them in your life? People who view your success as threatening to them? Who tell you you're not good enough when you are? Who want you to fall second while they take the first place? How do you deal with them? Tough subject, especially when they are family and close friends. Sometimes you have to purge to grow. Totally. This thread was inspired kind of by my realization of how sometimes people dearest to you can hold you back. Question is why? Some do it out of genuine concern through ignorance. Some do it from a place of jealousy. Some out of love with a limited view of life. Many were taught that there is only one way to success, even if what they believe has demonstrably never produced success. Some people feel threatened when their own worldview is challenged. And all of those cases, the attempted influence can be toxic. Pretty much everybody here that has had some modicum of success would understand what you're talking about. It hurts, but it is one of the realities of deviating from normal. The good news for you is that realization means that you are heading towards something greater. I give family and people who are close 3 chances. I've sadly cut more than 10 members of my family out of my circle. I don't talk to some of them at all. Permanently. If someone new wastes my time, they are cut immediately. Edit. I've given my mother a bunch of chances too. It's not that I don't talk to her, I just spend a lot less time with her. I've had a clear-cut path to get her back on track to doing more business and growing. She hasn't moved forward yet, only backwards. See? You are far from alone on this. When a single crab is put into a lidless bucket, they surely can and will escape. However, when more than one share a bucket, none can get out. If one crab elevates themselves above all, the others will grab this crab and drag him back down to share the mutual fate of the rest of the group. Crab bucket syndrome is often used to describe social situations where one person is trying to better themselves and others in the community attempt to pull them back down. September 2004. I moved back home to Chicago after a nasty breakup, broke and my self-esteem shattered. I needed to cocoon for a bit, regroup and get my shit straight. An old friend had a spare bedroom in his house and offered me a place to crash for a while. Hoping to leverage some personal relationships, I pursued several opportunities, real estate, concert promotion, etc., which for one reason or another didn't pan out. I finally secured a job on the floor, when trading floors still existed, of the Chicago Mercantile Exchange as a runner or out-trade clerk in the meat complex. Up every morning, Monday through Friday, at 5 a.m., so I could catch the elevated train and bus to be at work by 6, on the floor by 6:30 a.m. Gainfully employed but not making much loot, I was grateful to have some money coming in which enabled me to feel like a man. I contributed to the household by kicking in a third of the weekly grocery bill, shoveled the snow, ran errands and kicked in half the cost of the washing machine when that bad boy gave up the ghost. Meanwhile, the eldest daughter of the house, sweet young lady, had a loser boyfriend domiciled with her in the converted attic upstairs who whiled away his days, after he quit his serviceman job at Verizon, by sipping Captain Morgan and fruit punch, inhaling copious amounts of sativa and writing rap lyrics. The guy was actually talented but in no way contributed to the family unit's well-being like I did. However, his compensation for doing nothing was laying pipe on the family daughter, eating the food that I helped secure and usage of the family vehicle for which my hard-earned dollars provided fuel. So imagine my surprise when I was summoned downstairs to the living room by my friend wife and his sister-in-law, who also lived there. For the next 60 minutes these ladies proceeded, in so many words, to call me a loser because I was sleeping in their spare bedroom. They ridiculed my attempts to explore the above-mentioned business ideas and equated my job at the Merc to playing the lotto. WTF? Talk about ignorance. Wow, I felt like someone had pissed in my Wheaties and told me to shut up and drink. It's only lemonade. I recounted everything to a good friend of mine who broke it down. I was the proverbial dead mouse to a couple of old cats who saw me as a convenient plaything. These ladies read adventure novels because they were resigned to the fact that they would never see the world, despite having had ample opportunities to start businesses and take advantage of situations that would have improved their financial lives. My friend's father-in-law has thousands of acres of land in Mississippi, but all he, his wife and sister-in-law see is a potential headache, not a gateway to wealth. My contribution to the household was irrelevant to a couple of people who saw my daily fight to better my circumstances as an indictment of themselves. But I learned some valuable lessons. I no longer share my objectives, plans, aspirations or goals with people who don't share my mindset. I no longer assume people see value in what I bring to the table despite stepping outside of the mental box constructed for me. I no longer assume people who share my last name, history or bloodline have my best interests at heart. These are painful realizations. However, sometimes we humans need to spend time in the crucible in order to shape and find out who we are, but just as importantly discover who has been casting stones at our heads from the shadows. Sorry for the length. As mentioned up top, you're not alone in this treatment, but you are among friends. Here. Keep swinging. I've become very secluded in the last few months, and my family and I don't talk. I do still speak to my mother on a daily basis because she's providing me with a warm bed and a roof while I try to figure out what the hell I'm doing, lol. Even though my mother and I disagree on my decisions greatly, I will always take care of and love her. It will be my greatest joy to share my success with her. She was a single mother who busted ass and helped make me everything I am, and I owe her for that. Yes, it gets frustrating being around her sometimes, but good with the bad, I guess. I also have a friend that has been my closest since we were very young, and we are still very close. I will never be able to cut him off completely. He was there when I was nothing, and I know he'll still be around when I'm successful. I know this is not exactly what you are referring to, but one of the most important lessons I have learned in the past few years is to steer well clear of the drama, bitching and crap of other people. Facebook is a wonderful tool for keeping all your contacts on one place, especially while traveling, sending out mass invitations and getting information out to a lot of people, but it is also a cesspool of garbage. If you have Facebook, I would highly recommend deleting or unfollowing anybody who constantly complains, argues, seeks attention to posts anything that is not in line, which the person you want to become do the same in real life too. You definitely aren't alone. When you begin to realize some people are toxic, it shows that your mindset has become elevated above the common fray and allows you to make specific decisions regarding relationships in your life. However, if you see all people as toxic, that means you are just projecting what you have inside you onto them, and it's time for some introspection. I won't go into all the details, but I've mentioned here before my relationship with my parents and one brother. It hardly exists. The only reason why it does is the yearly birthday card and Christmas card. That's it. I've only come to do that in the last 2 years. After multiple opportunities of me forgiving their attempts to pull me down. To be clear, I mean literally messing with my bank accounts and other financial relationships. I still forgave them. But I made the final decision that they didn't belong in my life nor me in theirs. It's nothing against them, but I won't stand for it, and if I did, I would be deserving of anything resulting from that decision. The key is to realize or accept that they are toxic relationships, not toxic people. The crab syndrome is incredible. I've never heard of it, and it is so sad. The crabs that are happy in the bucket aren't stopping you from getting out. Indeed, they are supporting you and taking you closer to your goals, literally in the case of crabs sitting in the bucket beneath you. It's only the crabs that aren't happy in the bucket that bring each other down. So realize that the reason they aren't letting you climb out of the bucket is because they aren't at peace themselves. Do what you have to do to protect yourself, and think about the poor crabs that are flailing about unintentionally tangling you up with their own efforts. Labeling them as toxic people will eat away at you. Just my 2c. I've had to do the same as others, cut the toxic people out of my life, whether family or friends. There was a point it was so clear no matter how perfect I made choices, moved, did everything required, the reasons you stated above would occur. It was more important for them to sabotage my success out of ignorance, jealousy, or whatever reason they have. It's mind-blowing at the time. I still am trying to wrap my head around how people can blab about success. You need to change, you're lazy, you'll never succeed, etc. It's difficult, especially if they're family, but when it comes down to it, they're really not concerned whether you succeed. They're concerned about having their needs met in the moment, and what they want. They're not concerned about your needs, or what you want. Toxic, they want to stay in power, control, manipulation, and that means allowing them to cross your emotional, mental, spiritual, and physical boundaries. They expect you to remain docile, be obedient, and do what they say. People follow the herd, and they aren't strong enough to break the negative mindset, actions, lifestyle, and expect you to remain where they are. As I was told, my success mindset, positive mindset was strange ideas. I had to laugh, of course. Perhaps the strange ideas are when we need to squash other people's dreams with a toxic mindset that brings death instead of life. My father. The biggest piece of shit I have ever seen. He poisons everyone around, no family member talks to him except my brother sometimes. He does it out of mercy. If I had the choice, I would clean this piece of shit from the earth in a heartbeat. The air would get cleaner for everyone else. Anyways, I have chosen to ignore him completely. My success or failure has nothing to do with him but with myself alone and how I interpret my reality. Projecting my anger towards him won't help, only hold me back. It really helps when you understand that in every moment, people are giving away how they see themselves, by their behavior, which has nothing to do with you, but with their issues. If you squeeze an orange, it only comes out what is inside. Some people have only anger and poison inside. Some have only love and compassion. Set your boundaries clearly, but keep an open mind and attitude. There are some toxic ones in the forum too. They are everywhere. I used to feel bad when I was around them, but I have to be realistic and goal-oriented. I just don't give a damn anymore. Are the infamous energy vampires. They come in many forms. Crooks who steal from you. Family or friends who just don't understand your dreams. Or co-workers who genuinely thrive and succeed off the backs of others' misery. The world is full of them. It's been a struggle for me as well. I've brought garlic to work and handed it to someone who just loves to see me fail. 2 of my good buddies died laughing when said person was holding my garlic, and I gave them a confused look like he didn't drop dead. I wouldn't recommend such tactics. It's in my nature to be blunt and call people out. And it's backfired just as much as succeeded. But honestly, the tables were turned with this person that day. Either it was symbolic for me, or the boys told him. I don't know. But the guy hasn't purposely put himself in my way or in my head since. One of my favorite ways to turn the tables on the energy vampires is to tell them to focus. Which is harmless, right? But in my head FOCUS means $4% off cause are stupid. Feels great every time I say it, haha. Lol. Focus. Sorry to hear that about your father. I ran into Chef Gordon Ramsay a few weeks ago in Beverly Hills. We're not friends, but I struck up a conversation with him about an interview he gave in Men's Journal where he also referred to his father as a piece of shit. He confirmed that his dad called him a puff, British slang for homosexual, when Mr. Ramsay told him of his plans to become a chef. I guess he showed dear old dad. Sad. The people we look to for love and security are often the folks who hit us where it hurts. Love the garlic move. It was in my lunchbox for 3 days waiting for him to say one of his life-sucking comments. Everything smelt like an Italian pantry. But I knew it was going to be funny and fulfilling. Nice. Why would you let anyone else affect your life? It is understandable if you are dependent on someone, but once you are of age, I don't get it. The thing is, you have to be bigger than those people. You are a different breed if you've chosen to succeed. You really can't care about what they are saying or doing to distract you. Focus is essential and the key to your success. They're focused on all the wrong things. If they knew how to succeed, they wouldn't be toxic and they wouldn't be trying to be your stumbling block. As much shit as I get thrown at my character right now, I keep reminding myself, if you do make success, you will always have those toxic ones shooting arrows at you. You can either take it personally and never make it to success, or just blow it off and understand it's not your issue to begin with. Emotional vampires have one objective: to drag you down. There's not much you can do, but just stay away from them, and surround yourself with positive people. Again, it's their issue, not yours. I suppose we just learn to remain focused and ignore the negative scoundrels. I suppose that is called mental toughness and calling their bluff. You don't deal with them. You deal with yourself instead. Remove yourself from toxic people in your life, because they won't actually change unless they make that decision themselves. You're climbing your life ladder upward, so why do you bother keeping people that are going to pull you down that ladder? People who pull you down are not your friends. It's hard to get friends though. Then, the crab behavior is widespread. Maybe try looking in places like this for a new set of like-minded friends. Just with sites like this, be careful of MLMs and others who use them to rope in customers. I personally don't care about having many friends. I have maybe 2 or 3 real friends I talk to, and one that I talk to the most, lifelong friend and business partner. That's friends I used to hang out with long ago, now blow their money at clubs every night and aren't really doing much with their life. They are good people, but are falling into an unsuccessful paradigm that I don't want to be a part of. I would much rather have real friends based around growth, optimism, and valuable experiences, than getting wasted every day downtown. If you're looking to be successful, your main priority should not be. If you keep on your path to success, you will meet friends along the way. Friends who are like-minded, positive, and that you will share valuable experiences with. Hang on to positive, outgoing people, and let go of poison. How are you going to help millions of people if you can't first help yourself? Getting friends isn't hard. There are 300+ million people in the US alone. Besides the ones with Ebola, you should be able to find someone you can connect with on any level fairly easy. Abundance mindset. Just note, if you are looking close by for new friends to where your old friends lived, chances are the new ones aren't much different. Look outside of your socioeconomic area. Look for people outside of the common education of your area. Also look inwards as to what you want. Be real to yourself. Well, according to World Health, 350 million worldwide have depression. They're the loneliest people in the world. They all have a hard time connecting with the 300,000 people you're talking about. Lol, I'm just being a smart butt. If we could just find all the millions of smart, healthy friends, I flip the script on them. I ask them how I can help them with their goals. They want to be the boss at their job. I know some stuff from my business experience that can help them be more likely to get the promotion. I help them out in any way, and they will see the value in what I offer. I stopped trying to sell people on my way of thinking without them showing an interest. You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Just make sure you have 5 good ones. Also, try genuinely complimenting these toxic people. You may be surprised how quickly some of these toxic people warm up and are actually the opposite. Some won't, but doesn't hurt to check. I love it. I'll second Andrew here. Depending on your relationship with them, this is a great tactic. If it's just a work relationship, you'll completely melt their mind by doing this. Toxic people thrive on conflict. So if you pull a little social jujitsu and go with the flow, directing it subtly your way rather than fighting it, it'll short-circuit that pleasure center of their mind. My example: when I was just starting on my journey, I had the pleasure of meeting one of my best teachers. You see, he didn't know he was my teacher. He was just a toxic and malicious person who stuck his fangs into businesses or relationships, got what he could, then left. Being this way also caused him to be very underhanded in attempts to better himself by speaking negatively of others to anyone who would listen. I learned that rather than resist, which I thought would feel the best, I should offer to assist instead. X, is there anything I can help you with? What can I do for you? I'll be happy to help you out. Great idea. At the meeting, he eventually left of his own accord because there was nothing more for him to take when it was all being given to him. He was the best teacher I've had to date. He taught me an unbelievable amount of patience, people skills, mindsets not to have, etc. This works wonders when you must work with these kinds of people. But if it's your personal life, it's always your choice if you want to go this route or just rid yourself of them completely. Unfortunately, I'll have to disagree here, mainly for the purposes of the thread and future readers, not to get you to change your mind. If it's a toxic relationship, it would imply something is inherently wrong with the relationship and the people on both ends are non-toxic. But unfortunately, relationships are not normally poisoned without a person on either end doing so. It would also imply their relationships with other people are non-toxic. Our experiences may differ, but in my past I've found that toxic people lead to toxic relationships and you handle the cause, not the symptoms. I've never seen a toxic person and toxic relationship be independent of one another. I agree. Toxic relationships have to be driven by toxic individuals. One thing I am learning here is you will always be blamed. You will always be the villain in toxic relationships. 1. Their idea of help is sitting on the couch folding their hands and staring at the problem. They're not problem solvers. 2. They want instant results immediately. Quick fix. Quick buck. No patience. No understanding. No empathy. No sympathy. 3. They were born to fault find, naysay, gossip, and rumor monger. 3. While sitting on the couch and folding their hands, they have the opportunity to help you, whether it is small or great. They refuse to help you, because they really don't want you to succeed. Helping you means you will succeed. 4. If you succeed, it means they failed, and they are wrong. No one likes to be proven wrong. No one likes to admit they're wrong. 5. Doesn't matter where you go in life, no matter what mindset you have, people don't want to help you, because it's an individual society. If there isn't something in it for them, they don't give you the time of day. It's a very self-centered world. I don't deal with toxic people at all, because I've learned there are just as many people out there that will help you without strings attached. Toxic people are a waste of time and energy. They will never take you anywhere in this world, but down the ladder. They suffer from indignation. You have peace and they don't. Why would they want you to be happy and be successful if they're not? Yeah, that's one way. I forget where I heard it, but the saying was, "What's in it for me?" Tried talking to my mother today about her business again. I'm a sucker. I managed to get it out of her that she just doesn't like running her business. Even though it's successful in a sense of, people like her product cleaning services. Then she went on some anti-vaxxer diatribe and how all capitalists and the government are evil and trying to wipe out 80% of the population. And she kept trying to interrupt my younger brother and I from talking about space travel, history, science, and what motivates me to be an entrepreneur and why being one is important. Aside from space travel and entrepreneurship, the fact that she continues to misinform him about history and science, the two most important subjects, is astounding. She thinks I'm trying to corrupt him into being some satanic cult member or something. He and my nephews are pretty much all I care about anymore. I just want him to know the truth about his brother. It kinda hurts when your sibling looks at you and says that you are going to hell because I didn't buy into my mother's bullshit. I have to stop talking to her again. It hurts my head how brainwashed she has my brother. Until he is old enough to make his own decisions, there is nothing I can do. I hope it isn't too late by then. P.S. Sorry about this rant. I can't really even go to most of my own family to talk about stuff like this. People tend to talk on her side of the family. Pure crab bucket syndrome. I've literally cut every single one out of my life. I've contacted not a single one in almost 3 years. On my father's side of the family, most of them don't care. They are all married to a job and think that is all life has in store for them. Thanks for reading my rant. I just needed to get it off of my chest. The amount of brain pain I've had today dealing with toxic people that you can't remove from your life completely. Like the saying goes, you can pick your friends but you can't pick your family. I am usually fine, and cut off people. I did a no-no, and listened to my brother rant about crap for 3 hours. It made me feel like crap, and of course he doesn't have the mindset. He's on a different plane. Should have just not gone there. Oh, I'm sure I'll be back to normal tomorrow. Lol, just hate it because people don't get it. The sidewalk mentality isn't going to get me anywhere. 3 hours was long enough with my brother. My mother I haven't talked to in over a year and 4 months. I know how you feel. I learned this phrase that's been really helpful. I will not discuss subject with you. If you try to continue this conversation, I'm leaving. You'll also find that quite often, it is you who is bringing up the subject and seeking validation too. Don't. Check yourself before you wreck yourself. Brah, it's lonely at the top. Really lonely. You gotta figure out if it's friends you want or to be financially free. Trust me, I learned early on this is a lonely road, and people hate you being a go-getter and successful. And if you keep them around they will either not generally like you or mooch off you. Bet if MJ showed up to a day party with a homemade gift to a friend they would not stop talking about it. Learn to be alone, learn to feed off it. Also, the first people to turn into envious bastards will never be who you expect. I'm finding that out myself. It's hard cutting people out all the time. On the other hand, they just remind me why it's important to stick to the plan. They do a lot of preaching about success, but don't do it themselves. They have no ambition to do what I do. Those people sit on Facebook and share stupid shit, play video games, drink beer, gamble, and shop every time they get a coupon. Lol, I work 8 to 19 hours a day on my projects and educating myself. I go overboard with it, sometimes, but very content with my objectives. I'm a self-motivator, but like today I just hit a low day. I'm used to the alone thing by now. I'm fine with that. I prefer being alone versus around toxic crap. My thing is the wasted time. The drinking and partying on daddy's money with no care for the future. You got a 2-year your plans while everyone else 2 weeks it. You feel? Very true. It will pay off in the end. I just stay focused, but I would say once in a while I just have one of those days where you see how much you've learned, applied, and grown, and then the harvest isn't here yet. Lol, so keep going. It's unfortunate, but some people are just broken toys. Some great stuff in this thread. I think the main reason family etc. are naysayers is that they fear time getting away from them. The fears are superficial, and superficiality obstructs them from willingness to dig deeper than they are. To combat the fear productively, a person has to not only become willing, they have to change everything in their life around with the attitude that doing so is the right thing to do. They have to be the one to see that, without being babied through it, otherwise it won't work. It is a terrible truth perhaps, but fear to dig deeper, and be productive, will make you superficial enough to disrespect relationships with those who can dig deeper and face their superficial fears. I hated learning business, so I was really superficial, and I just had to battle it every day and get my mind on straighter. It's still off axis, but in order to help those I care about, I persist with the daily grind, unafraid of time, because I know I care enough to get through it. I think family just doesn't believe they care enough to go that far for you. It's sad, but family members only love when loving is easy, because they feel uncomfortable with truer intimacy, because they are insecure about their children, awkward about what they might not know, and not confident about their place in the world. Without the lie that parenthood is all you need. The reality is brutal. You can't just be a family member and have it be enough. You have to have faith in who you are. If your parents or friends or family can't be that example for you, or that support, then so be it. Stop giving them chances. It's weird like that because you need to get leverage, and leverage is very reality-based and very personalized. You have to discover how things connect in very real ways over time. Recently I discovered that motivation for money is a gentle thing, more like smelling something and letting it fill your senses for a while, rather than running on the spot ready to fight. It was weird to me at first because I was so sure you needed to be jogging around, metaphorically speaking, but eventually I found clarity in my own way, did it, and observed the results get crisper. The calmer you are, the better the focus becomes, because the more it puts your existing skills under pressure to perform without excuses. How calm you are has to be backed by ability, so if you calm down it leverages pressure onto your abilities. Once your abilities are pressurized, you then just try to use them smoothly. Using them over time might not fill you with results, but it gets you in touch with reality, and you get grounded. You always have to resist wanting it to be discovered today, and come to accept that you have the potential to both calm down, and make slight adjustments that will make everything click, at some point. I think that's not just true in biz, but you have to apply that patience with relationships too. The difference between toxic people and those you want in your life is that toxic people don't struggle with that patience like you do. In their eyes, they have already made it. I still sometimes feel like I have already made it in biz, but I will not be satisfied until I have helped everyone I care about. As of today, I have never done that. So I have not made it. And I remember that, so that I also remember what can happen if I get through my fears. I don't think a toxic relationship is dependent on there being a toxic person. It usually is, but not always. My father was a strict military officer, and my brother was a free spirit who left home at 16 on his 125cc Yamaha Enduro. Their conflict was based on opposite personalities. They had a toxic relationship until they were apart. Then they got along a lot better. As for negative people, their being negative says a lot more about them than it does you, and your reaction says a lot more about you than what they said. You can grow yourself into the person you want to be, as you learn about your own reactions. It really depends on what you consider to be toxic. Military is based on discipline, control, and they use toxic words at times to get you to do what they want you to do. Tough love, strict tone of voice, harsh words, and tough consequences. Breaking your spirit and breaking your will to conform to their standards and lifestyle. Their egos get inflamed if you don't react and respond in a timely manner. Nothing against military, but their objective is to train you to be mentally tough, target the enemy, and kill. Many soldiers suffer from PTSD, get divorced, drink, use drugs, and have a hard time relating to civilization. It's a particular mindset, and they have been programmed to an extent to do what they need to do. I've had military in every generation of my family and can tell you they've paid the price mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically. While there are pros and cons, they do build leadership skills, self-discipline, confidence, etc., etc. They can be very controlling, manipulating, and want to stay in power over their family members. Not all, but some do become abusive and very toxic. This wasn't about personalities clashing, but mindsets and belief systems. A military mindset and belief system versus your brother's mindset and belief system of not wanting to be controlled. It's a natural response. No different than you being here, and wanting to be free of the sidewalk and the slow lane mindset and belief system. I went through this with a family member. It's not our personalities that clash, but two different belief systems and mindsets, and they can't agree. They clash because one cannot comprehend the other mindset based on how they were trained, programmed, and conform to what they perceive through that institution. You can try to get along with someone, but if they're so brainwashed in their thinking there is no other way, you can't persuade them, change their mind, because they have to be right. Minds at a person's usual attitude or mental state is his or her mindset. If you have an environmentalist mindset, you probably bring your own bags to the grocery store. Personality 1. The complex of characteristics that distinguishes an individual, especially in relationships with others. 2a. The totality of an individual's behavioral and emotional tendencies. B. The organization of the individual's distinguishing character traits, attitudes, or habits. Belief system perception. Toxic leaders. I had a friend of 16 years who I started noticing was jealous of how my life turned out, to the point that I couldn't be his friend anymore. He's always been one of those people who look for shortcuts in life. His life is shit because of his own decisions, but I started noticing that he resented me because I made the right ones. We always talked about starting a business, but his idea of a business was spamming the internet. He didn't get the fact that you have to provide value to be successful. I couldn't be around someone who I realized actually hated me. They're all around us. Lazy people want everyone else to be lazy too, so they don't feel so bad about themselves. I'm not going to waste my time anymore with people like that. They contribute nothing positive. Nothing I need. Colin Powell said it best. I mostly got rid of Facebook people. The typical Facebook user is just a self-centered person that will try to bring everyone else down by showing a fake life. I call it the VIP complex, as anyone can get attention on Facebook. It was seriously getting me depressed. Between anniversaries, birthdays, vacations, etc., it looks like that nobody is doing any kind of work. I actually seen month-anniversaries, where people celebrate a marriage every month. It's obsessive and toxic. And if you try to say something a little bit more serious, crap starts. I don't think that all of those people are bad. I just think that Facebook brings out the worst of each person, and so much for the celebrated web anonymity that in the 90s made internet so great. I check FB probably once a week for a total of 3 or 4 minutes. Facebook is toxicity. I feel like I am living on a different planet than the majority of people on this post. I have friends and acquaintances from many walks of life. We go out to events together, play golf, softball, go to parties, hike, take trips, and just hang out. Many are not happy with their situation, and we hear about it. I have major family issues as well. The issues are extreme in a couple of cases. Of course you can and should pick your friends and who you hang out with. That is the easy part. The hard part is accepting people for who they are and accepting their actions without judgment. Bravo. In total agreement with the whole post, but wanted to emphasize the above. I agree, but up to a certain point. Some people are damaging, and their actions should not be accepted, and acceptance often implies approval. To bring it to the extremes, if I find out that a friend of mine is a pedophile, I won't accept it and I will judge and call the cops or beat the heck out of him. There's a limit for everything, and friendships can be damaging as helpful. I think it's impossible to give any blanket statement on the issue. I'm dealing with that now. Since success is a process, the first step in my process was to attempt to get my wife on board. Not an easy task as she's firmly rooted in her fears. A couple weeks ago I started a conversation about wanting to start a business. I haven't a specific business in mind, don't have a timeline or anything. I knew, however, my first challenge would be working with my wife on this. Within an hour we went from me mentioning it to a "don't bother coming home tonight. Make other arrangements." Basically I had told her all I had was the goal or thought of starting a business and her fears overtook her. I wasn't entirely surprised, only at the level at which it manifested itself. The past 2 weeks haven't been the most pleasant. Dealing with the usual hurdles that come up with a business can be a challenge, but dealing with another's issues can be exhausting. So, I'm moving forward with my life. Reading and getting some of the things out of the way I'll need to anyway. My actual plan hasn't changed a ton. These were always the next steps. To clear the street of debris so the ride would be smoother. The sharpening the iron portion I'd have to do anyway. Research, skill development, uncluttering other parts of my business life. Her fears won't stop my success. This does not mean that you have to maintain a relationship with someone. You can pick and choose your friends as you see fit. And yes, you can round up the absolute most extreme examples as you wish. You are being affected by people because of their behaviors, but you can choose not to. It seems to me that as a society, we are strongly affected by other people and their actions. This does not need to be the case. Now I see what you meant. Same as Steve, I have successful friends and I have some who are barely making it by in life. I have just as much fun and care about them all the same. Hell, my best friend of 15 years is the complete opposite of me. We used to be a lot alike, but I grew up and he didn't. I have big goals and stick to them. He doesn't. He knows about my success even though I don't shove it down his throat. I actually tried to help him a few years back, but he gave up almost instantly. I don't judge him for his choices and still love him like a brother. I must have some hard mental block in my head because I don't let others around me influence me into doing something I don't want to do. If they want to play video games for 8 hours a day, it's not going to rub off on me. If they want to work fast food the rest of their lives, it's not going to rub off on me. Like Steve said above, it's all about accepting them for who they are. I know how my friends are and why they make the choices they do. It is a shame. I told my wife that I was going to invest in apartments. She blew a deal for me by not agreeing to sign. I told her that I was going to invest in apartments with or without her. She finally went along for the ride. We ended up divorcing after all, as she did not like the lifestyle that came along with the path. Of course, she did not argue about the healthy sum of money she got from the apartments when we divorced. I find this thread kind of dangerous. Labeling people toxic is incredibly insensitive and not productive at all. If people are judging me, that's their business. If it's upsetting me, or holding me back, that's my business. No one can hold me back, or divert me from my goals or dreams unless I let them. No one can make me feel bad unless I agree to hold on to whatever their insult is touching in my ego. Toxic people are people that we don't want to let into our hearts, in order to protect some aspect of ourselves that we don't accept. Even a pedophile, while they deserve to be punished and put in a position to not be a threat to others, also deserves to be respected as a person. It's important to listen deeply to everyone that we are in conflict with. We all use filters to make snap judgments, and those filters damage and keep us from real intimacy and deeper satisfaction in relationships of all kinds. Once you've had the experience of getting over yourself and allow a toxic person to express what is really going on for them, you'll realize that the profound connection that comes from that type of relating puts getting to your business goals into perspective. People are always a gift for our growth. The so-called toxic people are offering the greatest growth opportunities. Toxic may not be the best of words here. However, If the person you wake up next to each morning is constantly fighting you at every turn and not capable of seeing anything beyond their own fears, it's not the best environment to cultivate a business. I've listened deeply and taken a great deal of it to heart. I was self-employed for over 20 years and successfully put 2 kids through school and into college, yet what I was really doing was exchanging hours for dollars and not building anything of substance. When the economy soured, I struggled to find new work. I was very much so a slow learner. Yet what I hear daily is how my business failed. Anything new will likewise, therefore fail. Explaining I'm not looking to exchange hours for money does not get heard. Relating it to even a sibling of hers who rehabs houses and now makes a nice living from their rent makes sense to her, but isn't something she believes I will do. I hope this doesn't come off as whining, because I'm not. I'm happy about where I am going and know I'll get there. I've learned from past experiences and want a different type of business than I've done. Some of her points are valid and I've taken them to heart and taken action on them. But there comes a point where dealing with someone else's fear isn't producing anything and detracting from the tasks at hand. I'm close to that point. Damn. Still waiting on that ebook. Are you coming to the Fast Lane meetup? I suggest telling her how you understand that the past business struggles that you went through affected her so deeply that she still feels them now when you are starting a new business. Make her feel like you really understand what she went through. Her fears are not about you, they are coming up in her, being triggered by circumstances that mirror hurtful and painful experiences from her past. Stop taking them personally and give her space to be afraid if she feels like her survival may be threatened by your business ventures. Reassure her that you know how she feels, make her fear okay, and she'll no longer need to hit you over the head with it. She's not trying to get you to change your entrepreneurial impulses. She's trying to get you to allow her to have a completely understandable reaction to it, especially if she has no experience in her family of the kind of stress that an entrepreneur takes for granted. If you are constantly thinking if leaving her, you just put her under tremendous pressure and make it worse, she only gets more afraid. If you love her, lean in with your heart. All the best. I take your point, but in my case I was in an environment that turned very hostile, very quickly. Knowing who I am, I was only going to take so much of that treatment before things came to a head because the lady's actions toward me turned passive-aggressive, which I generally regard as a form of violence. I was soon on my way to another, much more positive, living situation where I was able to get on my feet, unmolested, and find my way back out to L.A. However, there are people in my life, who can be draining, who might tolerate. My dad gets on my last nerve, at times, and has said some nasty shit to me but recognized his errant ways, after I stopped talking to him, and apologized. I love him because at his core he's a good dude. Don't get me wrong, I have trouble with this kind of stuff as well. It is what I am working on for my personal development. This has been a problem for me all my life. I have been in more than 30 fist fights because of my inability to realize that I am not the righter of wrongs or injustices in this world. I have been pitching in softball for years. It took me a long time to figure out why the other teams did not like me. I would not start anything, but if someone else said something, I would fire back. The next thing I know, there is a softball coming back at me at over 100 miles per hour. I got hit a lot and had a lot of confrontations. I got a whole team kicked out of a game one night. The police came out to make some of the players from the other team leave the fields. I did not get kicked out. To everyone else, they gave the appearance of being toxic. But I know that it was the repeated words that I kept saying to their shortstop when I got close to him that caused the problem. For some reason I cannot stand assholes on the road. This has led to road rage incidents in the past. I have jumped out of my car numerous times to confront people. The question is why? Well, I know why. I now look at myself every time I have an emotion of any kind. I want to recognize what that emotion is and why it is happening. It turns out that I am reacting to a perception that someone else is doing me wrong. What I am realizing is that I am drawing that through my actions and energy. Nobody is the cause for what happens to me. I am the director of my life. Once I came to this realization, my concept of problems changed. My concept of other people and their actions changed. This has helped me immensely in overcoming my anger issues. Beautiful. My latest encounter with a UK toxic woman is basically try to knock me out because she's a poet, and I'm taking up her space with my poetry. Lovely, I say. Well, their world is big enough for more than one poet. Obviously, she doesn't think so. Lol. Wow. Figure out a way to fuse this thread with Astonishing Secrets thread and we've got an all-time bestseller on our hands. Remind me to not piss you off. Lol. I haven't decided. All of my interests are in offline businesses. C&B was great, but most of those type of guys are no longer here. I prefer not to label people as toxic. It doesn't matter whether I am right or wrong. I find it a helpful way of thinking, and that's what matters. It's like the difference between saying and dislike the sin, not the sinner. Try not to label people, it's more helpful for you at the end of the day. You can love people, and not their actions. And have some ice cream at the same time. Well, I know what you mean. I'm all about love. Fortunately, I just walk away, because to eat ice cream with some people, they're not concerned about love as much as you are. That's been my experience anyway. You cannot react, or act, but they don't stop, and they will go in for the kill. So it's kind of like sitting with a poisonous snake and waiting it for to bite you any second, maybe even 50 times. I've been hung up to dry in front of a whole forum with another competitor bashing my character. She went on and on for 3 hours, and at first I didn't say anything, but then I did speak with love etc. Lol, she ended up getting thrown off the site because I did step back and let her make her own grave. You don't have to do anything. People battle inside in their head, create stories, and go off on drama. I've gone around before with a troll for 3 days on hub pages, and people cheered me on, because he wanted me to react and respond negatively. He was an atheist. I've gone up against a whole group of women who were drama freaks over a missing baby, and wouldn't react. Fortunately, at this point in time, I know now to let them do the damage to their own character. It's not my problem to begin with. Same thing with my family. In general, love is not their priority. Money is. Being right. And winning. They'll do just about anything to rattle your cage. Power. Control. Manipulation. You can take away the label, but you can't take away the enemy inside their thoughts. They're fighting themselves. Personally, I love your perspective, and please don't think I was trying to bash or change your way of thinking in my earlier post. Also, I was mainly referring to consistent actions by the same person rather than a random encounter. We all make mistakes, have bad days, etc. Normally when a random person I'm not associated with wrongs me by cutting me off, being rude, or in general just a nasty person rather than get defensive or upset like I did when I was younger, step back and go or pity with tea. And lastly, always all of this is self-talk. Of course, I wouldn't say it out loud to them unless it's a friend and I notice it's out of character to help them resolve whatever is going on. However, let me make an argument that, to use your words, the sinner makes the sin and in turn the sins make the sinner. I'm sure you, like most people on here, would agree that if someone has the habit of being perpetually negative or toxic, then by that definition they themselves are toxic because they are defined by their actions like all of us. That is, at least until they decide to change their course. It is in this situation that I would always recommend cutting them off from you completely, or at least to the point of an occasional acquaintance saying hi when you see them at the store. I would only recommend attempting helping them to change their habits if they are open to it and if you are at such a point that it won't drag your mindset down. However, Once most of us have reached the point of it being difficult to affect our mindsets, we no longer associate with people that have toxic habits. To clarify, I agree that you should hate the sin and not the sinner. Cutting someone from your life doesn't mean you hate them. It means that you are protecting yourself. I've cut people from my life. I still love them, but I no longer associate with them because of their consistent actions. With all that said, I admire the way you handle occasional negativity. It's something I believe all of us should strive towards. You should see people my age between weekends and the 8 million sorority girl pics. It gets way over the top. I ask myself if they have photographers chasing them around. Everyone is living their own reality. What you believe is toxic, likely comes with the best of intentions from them. I believe most people are doing what they feel is right. It is your reality that makes other people toxic. But you are in control of your reality. You can shape and control your view of these people. You can choose to see them as toxic or not. You can choose to change your actions or not to suit them. You can choose to get beat down by their feedback or inspired to show them that you know what you are talking about. You are in control or voluntarily give up your control. Don't blame others around you for holding you back. You are your own captain, and the only person who holds you back is you. In all fairness, the other crabs are probably trying to pull themselves up and out, never realizing that all they're doing is pulling the other crab back in. Anyway, here's a great clip from the Boondocks about crab bucket syndrome. I have a sort of different angle regarding this subject. I would like it if someone gave me their reflection on what I am about to say. I messed up in college big time, so my uncle keeps pressuring me to choose an easy major and get a job. His advice was to become a teacher and just get a job and get married. We come from a cultural background where marriage was conducted early on in early 20s. I am not even thinking about commitment like that until my 30s, or at least till I have made it big time. Meanwhile, I am working to carry my own weight, working on a startup that is very promising and shows a lot of potential, and is already proven to work by some colleagues. My uncle thinks my ventures is for the case of a few $100s here and there, when in reality it is such a big opportunity for me. He completely thinks that I am not cut out for a hard major in school, and doesn't think my business will bring success. He is also of a profession that I target his industry anyways, and he doesn't give me referrals because he thinks my business won't work. My progress would be a lot easier if he gave me referrals, but he just has such a low opinion for me. I messed up in college because of my effort, not because I lacked intellect or ability. I don't really ask him for anything anymore. My parents are supportive of me. They encourage me to take classes, however, which I do part-time, and they want me to get a degree, which I am working on. But they are also supportive in my startup pursuit. I've been too self-reflective about this. I need some outside opinions. Thanks. I don't know if I would agree with this statement. From being in abusive relationships since the day I was born, I didn't choose for people to physically do harm, nor emotionally, mentally, or spiritually. I believe your perception at times can see them as toxic, but there are certain times you're not creating their reality. As a child, I couldn't stop them. I didn't see them as toxic. I didn't know it wasn't normal behavior. As an adult, I see they have issues and problems that aren't mine. I can act appropriate, be neutral, not respond, or react, but still they will be toxic and abusive. So, I don't believe this is always the case. It's exactly why I left the situation. The people were toxic before I was born, and will remain that way as long as they choose to be. Breaking out of it, you learn what part is yours, and what is theirs. You can change all you want to, the world, and people around you won't change at the same time, even if your perception, thoughts, actions, and words do. It's exactly why you take a child to a therapist. The child is the problem. The parents believe this. You can try fixing the child. The child can change, but be placed back in the same environment. And if the parents don't change, the child will fall back into acting out and creating problems. This is what I couldn't figure out for a long time. I believed in that philosophy. I was the problem. It was something I was doing, how I was acting, etc. etc. I worked on inner development most of my life. But what never changed was the abusive people. Once I caught on the idea that I had to remove myself out of the environment, life is simpler. They were never doing the inner development and telling me I was wrong, and still doing the same today. I just had my brother tell me the better choice is drinking alcohol and being an alcoholic, and another one that believes manning up and drinking, playing in a band and hanging out with victim mentality is going to get me somewhere in life. Therefore I am the victim because I depend on myself, becoming an entrepreneur, and read books, got an education. Lol, I am toxic to everyone I know because I don't want to remain dysfunctional, and play the power, control, manipulation, and drama triangle of persecutor, rescuer, and victim. So yes, in my case from their eyes, I'm toxic because I threaten everything they know and believing their reality is a fallacy. I got to agree with Matty, thinking you are the problem and that it is just perception is just playing into your ego at the expense of the truth. People use your ego against you to be toxic. They know you'll get pulled back in because you think you can change it. Cues they know it's painful to escape and realize you will cave. Over time you learn that the toxicity really comes from sociopathic tendencies, lack of empathy, routine spitefulness. And that people do it as a means of catharsis. But people are inherently ignorant to the fact that their attempts at catharsis are sending a message of inadequacy and indifference to people around them. To cut toxic people off, you need to shut off your shoulder to cry on, and get rid of the ego that makes you think you can change the situation by changing your perspective. Get away, or you will waste your life on them. Don't follow your ego at the expense of their sociopathic truth. That's exactly what they want, in some sadistic kind of sadistic glee. They want you to cave at the expense of their sadism. It's all just a notch on the belt for them, another target they hit. And it is emotionless for them. Be the white rhino. The fish that got away. Cause that's how you have a chance to live for yourself and not someone else. Otherwise you are a dirty penny they shove in a baggie somewhere, and that is effed up. If you let them play into your ego, you become worthless, at the expense of the truth, that you are meant to live free. Currently going through a detox of relationships, mostly of relatives. Of course, when I first figured out that they didn't really care about me as a person, but more as someone they can throw their responsibilities on and manipulate so they could enjoy themselves, I felt betrayed. And a lot of hatred. Then I slowly realized that all along, I had the power to set up boundaries, which I never did. I was too hell-bent on wanting them to like me and validate me that I allowed them to take advantage of me. I listened to their complaints, gave them advice, ran errands for them, etc. Wasted a lot of my precious energy on them. Yet, in spite of that, I still managed to accomplish my main goals within a year. I let them know that I do not wish to talk with them and have cut them off, cold turkey. It's been hard and I've literally been sick to my stomach from the stress and anxiety of it, but I know it's for the best. I am trying to regain the focus and intensity I had when I was gunning for my goal. Now, even though it still hurts, my trust in them is completely broken and they are still blaming things on me, I almost feel sorry and sad for them. I feel bad that they may never get out of that miserable, manipulative mindset. I still love them in a weird way, but it's mixed with a lot of pity. I feel for you, been there myself. It gets easier as you go and make your way. I don't think they'll ever stop blaming you or being negative. The important thing is to be happy and content with being your best self. Give life your best shot and there are always plenty of good people in the world that will come along in your life.